Hey guys, it's Tina and welcome to the Qweendom. Alright, so if you guys see the same shirt, yep, second video of the day. Hello, who does that apply to? Right, so this video is going to be about something that a lot of us moms struggle with at different times in our life, whether it is before or after pregnancy. So today's video is about postpartum depression. So most of you who watch know I'm a mom of 4. Have a 15-year-old. Rewind, listen, if he heard that I said he was 15, he'd be like, Ma, you don't even know my age. I have a 16-year-old, an almost 15-year-old, almost 2-year-old, and almost 1-year-old. Yeah, back to back to back to back. Hey. So when I think about being a mom to 2 under 2, the first go around, looking back on it and thinking about it at this point, I know that I struggle with postpartum depression, and I think a lot of factors went into that as to why I struggle with postpartum depression. Thinking back into my teenage years, I realize now, and because I've spoken with therapists about it, just in remembering things that I've gone through, I struggled with anxiety as a young person. Of course, at the time, didn't know what it was, had no idea. I know now. It would be moments when I was a teenager where it wasn't just like overwhelming feelings that are norm when you're growing up and your hormones are changing and fluctuating and all of that, but there were times when I had extreme highs and extreme lows. I told you guys before, I think at least, I was the oldest child. I am the oldest child of 4. So in my most natural state, I'm used to controlling things to a certain point. I'm used to being the one that people look up to, that, you know, oh, you know, she's a goody two shoes, you know, she is the one that's focused, or she's the one that you can depend on. So, you know, I know now that at a young age I had a lot of responsibility that, of course, then didn't think about it, but at a young age I had a lot of responsibility that some I took on, and then some was just exactly what it is. When you're the oldest, you're just the oldest. That's what it is. There were times when I was a teenager, and I don't know, I can't remember everything right now, but I do know that there were times when I was a teenager that I felt like that I felt like people didn't want me around. Most times it wasn't, oh gosh, most times it wasn't me thinking that my family didn't want me around. Growing up, I did not have a whole lot of friends because I was an introvert, and I enjoyed books more than people. So yeah, there were times when I felt like people didn't want me around, especially things that had to do with school. Like, school was a place of sometimes extreme stress and anxiety for me, because I got teased, I got picked on for a number of things. You know, I used to wear the red Sally Jessy Raphael glasses. If anybody knows who Sally Jessy Raphael is, we's getting old. I was always a thin girl, so I got teased about being thin. I got teased about not having breasts, you know, having smaller breasts. I got teased about having a small butt. I got teased about my hair choices. I got teased about the type of clothes that I wore. I got teased about the type of shoes that I wore. Wow. Just a lot of things. So, you know, it caused me to develop a sense of self-hatred, which, you know, at a young age, you can't always blame that on other people. You know, there were some things that, I don't know. There were some things that I'm sure I was telling myself too, you know. I would tell myself that I wasn't pretty because that's what I believed. Of course, my family, you're beautiful, we love you, you have beautiful hair. You know, they were the quintessential family and supported family like they are now. But in school, amongst my peers, I was told something totally different. So although my family, who loved me and adored me and knew me more than those people at school, although they told me all the good things about me, when I was at school amongst my peers, I heard something different. So more than anything, that's what I began to believe. And I say all that to just give you a background as to how my thinking was as a younger person. There was even a time where I thought about ending my life. And it was because, so crazy, I remember it so vividly. My brother and I, my brother Brandon, who has passed away, I talked about him like briefly before. We were close in age, like all of my children are, like a couple of, I guess we were about 2 years or so, apart. So we're really close in age. So, I don't know, we had some kind of silly argument about something, as we always do. And, you know, he would say things like, you ugly, and that's why nobody else like, you know, silly things that teenagers say. And I guess for me, it was so different hearing it from him because I had heard it at school so much. So, like, I definitely went downstairs into the kitchen, stood on the chair because our refrigerator was really high. So I had to stand on the chair to reach the refrigerator, and that's where the knives were kept. And I just stood there, just hysterical, and just looking at the knives. And, you know, in that very moment, I felt a sense of, if you do this, you're going to go to hell. I'm a Christian, grew up Baptist, like all that stuff, which I spoke about that before as well. So more than anything, that conviction, you know, made me not consider that and not make that decision. But onto the motherhood portion. So yeah, I was, I think, about 21 when I had my son. And I had just turned 22 when I had my oldest daughter. So, you know, just the fact that 2 under 2, both in diapers. At this point, I had moved out of my mom's house. I remember when he would go to work sometimes, and both of the older kids would be crying, or just being 1 and 2 year olds or whatever. Like, I would sometimes hide in the closet and just be so overwhelmed. Like, I just remember when they were younger, I spent a lot of time at my mom's house. And although I was paying rent and bills at our apartment that my oldest kid's dad and I shared together, I wasn't there a lot because it was just like so overwhelming and stressful when he wasn't there. So I'll be at my mom's house. I remember family members being like, you here? Like, do you still live here? You still live here? Surprisingly, my apartment wasn't far from where my mom lived when the older kids were younger. So we could literally leave our apartment and walk to my mom's home in maybe like 10 minutes or so. You know, 1 and 2 year old, you in a stroller, day walking and crying at different times and stuff like that. So yeah, about 10 or 15 minute walk. Oh my gosh, I just remember being there a lot and just being able to relax when I was there, being able to not be mommy, 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 just being able to breathe. And you know, like, then everybody still lived in my mom's home, so my brother that was next to me was still there, my sister was there, my younger brother was there. So I got relief, you know, instead of them jumping all on me and worrying me half to death. You know, they were in there with my mom and all this kind of stuff, and she would make dinner every night. So it was a huge sigh of relief when I was there. Of course, thankfully, as they got older, their grandmom on the dad's side would, you know, keep them. So it was like, as they got older, they were able to be around their family and everybody a lot more, which when you're a young mom, you know, you think you gotta be super mom, you gotta handle everything. So that was how I felt. So a lot of the stress that I felt and anxiety that I felt was not only because, you know, I had 2 kids in diapers and, you know, dad would be at work and I would be stressed out. A lot of it had to do with the belief that I had to be super mom and super Tina and do the most and cook and clean and, you know, be an amazing lover and, you know, just everything, just do everything. So a lot of it had to do with my own thoughts and expectations about what a mother should be and a mother is, and then that really and the stark contrast of what that reality is as well. So I remember after I had my oldest daughter, I was like, I'm never doing this again. Like, I just remember being like, I'm never getting pregnant again. I'm never having any more kids again. Just never. So of course, you know, fast forward, whole nother relationship, and 13 years later, absolutely excited to be pregnant with, there's Bryn, so I gotta hurry up. Absolutely, positively excited to be pregnant with Bailey. But after I had her, it was like all of those feelings and emotions of being overwhelmed and stressed that I felt when I had the younger kids, it came rushing back, and I started to feel like, I gotta be like, I was doing a lot, I was doing the most, and at different times, I had breakdown moments and stuff like that. I will tell you what, I remember when the older kids were younger, I did go and talk to my doctor after I had my oldest daughter, and I was just telling my doctor, like, you know, I'm overwhelmed and, you know, I'm feeling just different than myself. And he had put me on antidepressants for a while, and I was on them for a while, a couple of months, and I kept having conversations with my family members, and like my mom and my aunts and them were, you know, just telling me that it happens a lot of times, and, you know, as women, we worry about a lot of different things, and, you know, they were just helping me to understand and know that it is the norm, but at the same time, you have to get a hold of it, because if you don't, it can be something that can be really, really overwhelming. So I just took myself off of the antidepressants ultimately, and I was okay for a long while. But just like I said, once I got pregnant with Bailey and had her, all of those feelings came rushing back, and I did have a conversation with my doctor after I had her, like, I think I'm struggling. And she was like, you know, what do you want to do? I chose at that point to not do medication because I didn't like how it made me feel. I remember how it made me feel when I was younger, and I didn't want that blank stare and just glazed over and glossed off feeling. If somebody scare you, just looking like, in some cases, depending on the medication that you're on. So I told her that I wanted to be referred to a therapist, and I was referred to a therapist that, excuse me, not far from my home. I went through my insurance company, and more than anything, we weren't just talking about postpartum, but we were talking about grief, because you all know that same time that I had Bailey, my grandmother passed away. The same month that I had Bailey, then 2 months later, my uncle and my dad passed away. So more than anything, we were focusing on grief and not so much on the postpartum depression side of it. And then fast forward just a couple of months after I had Bailey, got pregnant with Bryn. So that was just like so many things compounded on everything. So I say all that to say I'm back in therapy. My insurance is covering my therapy, thank God. And the program that I'm in, or the agency or company that I go along that I'm with, actually comes to my home. So she does in-home visits, and she does, you know, the hour worth of therapy with me. So I'm getting back into that. One other component that I'm learning, especially since I'm in nursing school, is that vitamin D makes a huge difference in terms of your mood. So I'm back on my vitamin D supplement, which my doctor told me years ago, probably like 4 years ago. Your vitamin D is really, really, really low. Like, I need you to start taking it. So I'm consecutively taking my vitamin D so that I can have a better mood, a different outlook on things. And it's been helping a lot. It's definitely been helping a lot. I'm loving my smile being back. If the people that watch me, who know me personally, know that my family, my last name, the last name of my family, we're signature. It's signature for smiling all the time. Like, that's just what we're known for. So I'm getting back to me. Reminding myself of how amazing I am. Being realistic with myself in terms of me being a mom and having so many things to juggle. Even if you're a mom and don't have so many things to juggle, just the struggles that we have, the pressure that we put on ourselves, the pressure that other people and their expectation put on us at times, it can be a lot. And then this whole social media thing too can be a whole nother component too, you know. So I'm doing a lot better. I definitely want to encourage anybody, not just females, struggle with depression and or postpartum depression. Excuse me. Anybody who is struggling, open up, talk. I know you might feel like it's embarrassing, and you know the mental illness component to it is like, oh my God, I ain't crazy, I ain't about whatever. However you want to feel about it, at the end of the day, you want to do what's best for you. You want to do what's best for your family. You want to be healthy. So if medication is your option, take that option. If therapy is your option, if going out and getting more sun, if spending more time with your like whatever it is, try to exhaust all options. Life is not easy for any of us, younger people included, because we sometimes believe that, oh, they're younger, they teenagers, they ain't got no struggles, and it's not true. I just want to encourage everybody, and I want to encourage myself. This YouTube thing has become so cathartic, hey, and therapeutic for me. Oh God. When I started this, I never thought that it would help me in the way that it has. I just appreciate all you guys before tears really start crying, and you already hit my baby crying, so that's what it is. Thank you guys so very much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and in the comments below, let me know about different struggles that you've had as a mom, or just as a person in general, and how you have put yourself on a course to be a more positive person, be a more healthy person, not just for yourself, not just for your family members, but for yourself as well. Let me go get my baby, y'all.